go live to Peter Dutton at this news conference in Perth at the Perth Show.
And his or her family, it's also the local producers, and it's where the farmers are spending money in the local communities that ultimately will be attacked under what Mr Albanese is proposing here to stop the industry. There's no alternate for these farmers. And I just want to say to all of my colleagues here, thank you very much. The Keep the Sheep campaign is running full steam ahead. It has to, because it's important for WA, and what now is obvious to all Australians is that the Albanese government continues to create great uncertainty across the economy. There is a reason why interest rates are coming down in the US, in the UK, in Canada and in New Zealand, and they're not coming down here in Australia. The Reserve Bank Governor has pointed out that the amount of money that's being spent by the Labor government at a federal level and at the state level is fueling inflation and therefore keeping interest rates higher for longer. Interest rates should have already come down in our country. People should already be saving hundreds of dollars a month in their mortgage repayments. But they're not, because the government's made the wrong decisions in the previous budgets. The Prime Minister was obsessed with the voice for the first 16 months, which means that the decisions that should have been taken to weather us through this economic storm haven't been taken, and that's why families and small businesses are really struggling at the moment. The stance the Prime Minister's taken, or that I thought that he had taken, maybe now he's backing away, or depending on which media interview he's doing, he changes his story in the last 24 hours. It's been phenomenal on what they're doing on negative gearing. The Treasurer dumps this story out there and then he jumps on a plane to go to China, so he's nowhere to answer questions. And the Prime Minister keeps changing his story about whether the government is adopting the Greens policy to abolish negative gearing or to cap it. What are they doing in relation to capital gains discount? What does that mean for uncertainty in the economy? And the Prime Minister can't answer a question with honesty. I think Australians want from their Prime Minister somebody who can look them in the eye and tell them the truth, and this Prime Minister is not doing that at the moment, and it's quite amazing to see this government unravel. The wheels are falling off the Albanese government and Australians can sense it. The trouble is that when Labor runs out of money, they come after yours, and that's exactly what's happening here. This is just a new tax. It's another tax because Labor want to increase the public service in Canberra, and that's not going to help the people of Western Australia. So we will take a very strong stance against any changes to negative gearing, because it will disrupt the housing market, it'll drive up rents, and it's not in our nation's best interest. So I'm happy to take any questions.
With Chalmers in China, is in some way our sovereignty at risk as he tries to get closer to China?
Well, it's just hard to know why the Treasurer is not answering questions on a policy that he's commissioned. Now, the Prime Minister says that he doesn't know anything about it, that Treasury is just off on a frolic of its own, and they're out there costing changes to the tax system in negative gearing. We don't know what's happening with the death tax again. We don't know what's happening with frank dividends. This is a government that has lost its purpose and its direction, and the Treasurer should be able to answer basic questions, but of course he's not.
Should Australia follow the US's lead and ban electric vehicles from China?
I think what we should do is act in our national interest, and if there's intelligence or security concerns that the government has been made aware of, then the government should provide that advice. I haven't received any security advice to the effect that there's a risk, but if the United States, our closest ally, has a concern, then we should listen to their concerns, and ultimately we should act in our national interest, and you would expect the Prime Minister to do that.
Just one on foreign policy. Ukraine's crying out for more ammunition. 155mm shells are manufactured in Queensland. Should we be sending them that sort of ammunition?
Look, there's just no doubt whatsoever we should be providing more support to Ukraine. President Zelensky is a 21st century hero. He's a man who has stood up against a murderous dictator in Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin is still bombing residential areas. He's still killing women and children. And that we wouldn't be standing with Ukraine in that fight for humanity is beyond our comprehension. So I think the Prime Minister needs to show some strength instead of the weakness and stand up and provide the support. As you point out, there are munitions that we manufacture here in Australia, and we have the ability to provide support to Ukraine to help them stare down Vladimir Putin, and we shouldn't be hesitating.